Don't forget to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Turn on that notification bell so you know when videos drop. Thanks for watching. Welcome to a Peacock Minute. They're all wondering, what are we going to be doing today?
Today is an anniversary of 10 years ago, June the 3rd, 2014. Do you remember that day, Mrs. Peacock?
No, I've tried to forget it.
Oh, we were trying to forget it, and recently there was a big problem just north of us, about 7 to 8 miles. The Minden, Iowa tornado came through on April the 26th, 2024, and that trudged up a lot of memories of what happened right here in this barn.
But you know, even before that, like in 1976, is when Minden had another tornado, and I was in it.
Yeah, you seem to be a tornado magnet, Mrs. Peacock.
That's right, they follow me wherever I go.
Well, let's hope they don't follow you ever again, because that's an anniversary we're not happy to deal with. Originally, we were going to make a 10-year anniversary of what happened here on the Peacock farm that dreaded day of June 3rd, 2014. And now we have a lot of memories to go back over with, and I have to say, I was really sad to see the devastation of the Minden, Iowa's tornado of April 26, 2024.
Yeah, that's right. We couldn't get in town the first night, but then later on we got into town and we could survey the damage. And I'm thinking this tornado was even worse than the 1976 tornado I was in, where we lost a hog house and grain bin was thrown into the field. And this tornado, the houses were just gone.
Yeah, and that brings us to our tornado, our anniversary, 10 years. You know, the damages from these tornadoes can be superficially fixed, but they never can fix what you feel inside if you've been a part of it. And we like to tell you something about how our tornado in 2014 went and what we were doing. Right in this very barn door, we started a brand new series. What was that called, Mrs. Peacock?
That was called Hidden Treasures, and we went out to find some hidden treasures on that day.
Where did we go on that day? Did the tornado hit this place, Mrs. Peacock?
Well, I think the first place we went was to see the Little Mermaid. She's a mermaid in Kimballton, Iowa, in a little park near a fountain, or I think it is the fountain. And so we went there first.
It was kind of cool to watch that, and that was our first of our series. It was so exciting to get started on it. Where was the second place we went that day?
I think we went to the Danish windmill in Elkhorn, Iowa.
That was so cool to see that. I had a lot of history with some friends living in that town and thought it was really great to show everybody what that looked like. And then we went to our third stop. Where was that, Mrs. Peacock?
We got to see Albert the bull in Audubon, Iowa. Everybody knows Albert.
Albert is so cool, and you can see by the video that he is the biggest bull you'll ever see. And our final stop was where, Mrs. Peacock?
It was near Exira, and it's a plow in an old oak tree. That was kind of cool.
It was really cool. The plow in the oak tree, and right around that time, we started seeing a lot of clouds. And the clouds were coming through, and I was getting real nervous because I hate storms. Mrs. Peacock loves to do it. She should be a storm chaser, I think.
Yeah, I could be.
Not me. I'm running away from the storms. But then we got done and we got home, and what happened? You made supper right away, didn't you?
Yeah, we had seen the clouds all the way home, so we thought we better make supper first. So that's the first thing that we did, so that we at least could eat, because you never know if we're going to lose power or what's going to happen.
And then all of a sudden, everything happened. Now, I should note here, we have actual video footage of when the tornado hit this barn and it shook it to its core, didn't it, Mrs. Peacock?
Well, the video's shaking and shaking, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, that must be when the front caved in, and you could see where everything was flying.
Let's show everybody that video right now, Mrs. Peacock.
Okay.
that was incredible. Now, you have to understand that we were having raccoon problems in this very barn before the tornado came through, and I had game cameras up all over the place, and apparently after I took them off the ladders, I ended up forgetting one camera on the post facing that direction where the raccoon was coming in, and that's where this camera footage came of our tornado. We know the time because it says the exact time, doesn't it, Mrs. Peacock?
I don't remember, does it?
I believe it said it was like 4:56 p.m. that evening. And then our life was changed irrevocably. Oh.
I liked it when you were in the basement, and before the storm, we knew it was coming. You're down in the basement, and you said, get in the basement, get in the basement. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine up here, no big deal. Then all of a sudden I saw stuff fly by the kitchen window, and the power went. I'm like, oh, I guess we are having a tornado, because I remember that from the 1976 Minden tornado that I was in. So then I went to the basement, but really, by then it was too late.
Yeah, and you could have been blown away to Kansas, and I'm not making fun of it, but that's what we always say when the storm comes through. But in any case, then we went out to
You had to... You had to get in the office.
Oh, yeah. It rained so hard that it came through our storm windows into our office, and I was getting all the moisture off the floor. We had moisture about a foot in between the two storm windows. And then what happened, Mrs. Peacock?
Well, I decided, of course, to go outside.
Of course. Mrs. Peacock has to examine things right away.
And see what's going on. Well, I couldn't get out the front door because power line was across the front door. So it's like, okay, do I take the chance and get zapped or go outside? And of course, I went outside.
Of course you did.
Of course.
And then we went and examined everything, and it was like, oh my goodness. It was just like in the Wizard of Oz. In fact, it reminded me a little bit of what we saw in the make-believe movie Twister. But this was the real Twister, and it was really horrible. I mean, we walked all the way through the place, and the doors to our right over here in the barn were just pushed in. It tore the roof off. I couldn't even get into the pens. And you know what happened was really weird?
What?
We had peacocks out in the storm. I don't know how they survived. At least outside they did, because there was peacocks that were here, and they were on top of the roof the very next morning when we went out to examine the debris and the problems that we had. They were just sitting up on the roof. They were walking on the trees. They were having fun. Meanwhile, we were looking at, oh my gosh, how am I going to get into the barn? I guess we had a big door right over here. It was wide open, and we went in there. And then we had the Minden Fire Department come in right that night of the tornado to see if we were okay. What do you remember about that?
Well, that was while you were still mopping up the office.
Oh, no.
So then I came out to check, and came out, of course, first thing I saw was, of course, the trees down, the power lines down. I came out to the barn, could see it was damaged, and I went around back to the north side, and then noticed, of course, had to jump over trees, and then saw the skylight in the back pen. And then I came back to the barn. I saw a fire truck out on the road, and that's when they came to check on us, because they had to check and see how people were in the country.
That's really good that they came and checked on us. And then after that, then that was the extent of anybody checking on us, wasn't it?
Well, this is true.
It was weird. It was weird. We're happy that the tornado of April 26, 2024, the town of Minden and the country people who were damaged by the tornado severely, and theirs was an EF3, ours was an EF2. It was a much worse tornado than ours. But they're getting help. We had no help. The only help we had, Mrs. Peacock, is the help that our wonderful insurance company would help us with, and that was terrible. We were with this insurance company for 28 years, never any claims, and they didn't want to give us anything for our damages. It was horrible.
Yeah, we had to fight and fight and fight and fight. It was not fun.
Yes, and finally, we got some help, with trying to get the trees removed, because how many trees did we have down on this property, Mrs. Peacock?
Well, I counted them and got up to 100 trees. So that's quite a few trees. So there were probably a few more. But could you get into the store? I think these trees were damaged.
Originally, no. I couldn't get through this very door because the trees are blocking it. So I went into the door that was wide open from the tornado, and that's how I did chores. We were fortunate at that time that the coyotes and the bobcats weren't around. They were probably all shook up from the tornado and through that whole period of time. And it took, by the time we got every tree off this property, it took 5 months and 1 week to get it all done, Mrs. Peacock.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, because unless you're here and actually see it, you can't imagine how trees are down here. The entire north side, trees were over. We couldn't get in the front door of our house because all of the trees out there fell up against the house, which is why you had water coming through the window.
Yeah, we were very lucky. I had a vision in my head of like God put his hand down in front of our house and it went around our house. The trees came right up to the house, didn't break a single window. We had to eventually paint the house and the barn. I did. And that was it. And oh my gosh, we still to this day have a lot of things that never got repaired. In fact, Mrs. Peacock and I had a little discussion while we were preparing for this video that she said, oh no, they didn't come back 5 years later for the tornado, but they did. It took us 5 years to even get everything fixed. They fixed what they had to, and they had to move on to the next people. And what happened then was we finally had our crew back to put more barn boards in the back, and they did a fantastic job. But it still has some things that it could be fixed. We just never had the money to fix everything. Not one person brought us a single bottle of water or food. We had nobody here. The only people that were here were the paid people. And when the money ran out, so did our helpers.
Yeah, it's always kind of interesting. Everybody would tell you, oh, if something happens to your house, you have a storm. Oh, tons of people just come and help. And no, they don't.
No, they didn't. And today, my pickup still sits right over there, and it can't work. The tornado kind of destroyed it, and we have to get it fixed. We just ran out of money. And I have right over to the right here is our bundles of shingles that came off the roof. I hadn't been able to dispose of them. And there's a lot of things. My pens all need to be worked on, but we survived all these 10 years. We just do what we can with what we have, and we survived this tornado somehow, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. It's interesting because the skylight in the back is tin. It's got tin roof. So how did you fix it?
I was so frustrated and so mad, I had to go on it and jumped up and down, up and down, up and down. And I finally got it there, and I had to clamp it down, and I had to put nails through it. And it was the hardest job because I had no help. Mrs. Peacock couldn't help me doing that. I had to do it myself, and I finally got it. We're not sure, but we think some of the peahens or peacocks in that back pen were sucked out of that pen when the tornado came through and curled up that roof back there. They had a nice skylight, didn't they?
Actually, your skylight looked pretty good.
Actually, the light was good, but that's not what we ever wanted to happen to our pens.
No.
And it was really terrible. Are we missing anything important here, Mrs. Peacock? I think we're near done, aren't we?
I don't think we're ever done with tornado.
No. And every time a storm comes through, I get these horrible feelings. Oh, it's terrible. Every time they say tornado warning or tornado watch, oh my goodness, I get so upset. And she's just little happy go-lucky. I think her new career after being retired is she should be a storm chaser.
Yeah.
I think you should get a car and go after these tornadoes because I think you're really good on it. By the way, we should mention we did 2 other videos about the first day we went to the Minden tornado, April 26, 2024. And then 5 days later, 2 more tornadoes came within a half a mile to the town of Minden and caused more destruction. And then these tornadoes all were within 4 miles, either north or south of our house or west of our house. We were really blessed that we weren't hurt by all 4 of these tornadoes. We're hoping we get through the rest of this season without any issues, Mrs. Peacock.
Well, that would be a good thing.
That would be a good thing. Well, I don't know, Mrs. Peacock. I think we've said everything. This is our 10th year anniversary of June 3rd, 2024, and I'm hoping we never have to do another one of these tornado videos ever again.
Yep, that's true. We hope not.
Well, Mrs. Peacock, I think we should say thanks for viewing.
I'll see you later.
Hey viewers, don't forget to make a donation. The link's below.
Order The Wacky World of Peafowl books at peafowl.com.